Dr. Amanda Hayes drummed her fingers against the monitoring station's crystalline control panel, her eyes fixed on Earth's electromagnetic signature. For 2 centuries, the Galactic Council had watched humanity's broadcasts paint pictures of their civilization across the cosmos. Radio waves, television signals, and digital communications formed an intricate tapestry that told the story of a species racing toward the stars. "Something's wrong," she muttered, leaning closer to the holographic display. The familiar peaks and valleys of human communication patterns had begun to flatten. Not gradually, as one might expect from a civilization in decline, but with alarming precision. Region by region, city by city, Earth's technological heartbeat was slowing to a stop. Behind her, the station's quantum processors hummed as they analyzed the phenomenon. Amanda had spent 15 years studying human broadcasts, learning their languages, their music, their stories. She'd written her thesis on the emotional complexity of human entertainment programs, arguing that their ability to blend comedy and tragedy in single narratives suggested a unique form of consciousness. The emergency alert chimed softly. "Warning. Critical anomaly detected in Sector 7, Sol system. Earth's electromagnetic signature has dropped below minimum threshold for Type 2 civilization status." Amanda's scales bristled with concern as she pulled up historical data. The decline wasn't random. Major population centers were going dark in a synchronized pattern, as if following some predetermined sequence. New York, London, Tokyo, each megalopolis falling silent in perfect order. "Central, this is Observer Hayes requesting emergency consultation," she said, her voice steady despite the growing knot in her stomach. "Earth's emissions are approaching pre-industrial levels. Request immediate analysis for possible catastrophic event scenarios." The response came instantly. Analysis inconclusive. No evidence of nuclear exchange, pandemic, or natural disaster. Planetary infrastructure appears intact. Biodiversity readings normal. Human population count unchanged. That was impossible. A civilization couldn't simply choose to stop broadcasting. The social and economic chaos would be devastating. Yet the data was clear. Earth was going dark by design. Amanda initiated a deep scan of the remaining active regions. The pattern grew clearer with each passing moment. This wasn't a collapse. It was a countdown. Someone or something had convinced humanity to abandon their greatest technological achievements, and they were doing it with military precision. "Dr. Hayes," the soft voice of her assistant, Neural Node 147, interrupted her thoughts. "I've detected unusual activity in the archived entertainment broadcasts from the past solar cycle. There appears to be a 47% increase in fictional narratives featuring themes of technological regression and voluntary isolation." Amanda's heart raced. She dismissed those changes as natural cultural evolution. But now, "Show me the trend analysis." The holographic display filled with data points, post-apocalyptic stories, tales of technology gone wrong, celebrations of primitive survival skills, all surging in popularity over the past 5 years. Humanity had been preparing their population for this moment, softening the psychological impact of technological abandonment. "Central, requesting immediate uplift of Earth's observation priority," Amanda transmitted, her voice tight with urgency. "I believe we're witnessing a coordinated technological shutdown of unprecedented scale. Humanity is deliberately disconnecting themselves from the galactic community before first contact." The silence that followed her transmission felt eternal. Finally, the response came. "Priority uplift granted. Observer Hayes, you are hereby authorized to form an emergency assessment team. Determine why humanity has chosen silence. The Council must know if they've seen something in the darkness between stars that we have missed." As the last major population centers went dark, Amanda stared at the final electromagnetic readings from Earth. The pattern of the shutdown was familiar somehow, teasing at the edges of her memory. Then it hit her. It matched the rhythm of a human musical piece she'd studied, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Even in their withdrawal, They were sending a message to anyone who knew how to listen. Humanity's silence wasn't an ending. It was an overture. "Central," she whispered. "I don't think they're hiding from us. I think they're hiding from something else. And whatever it is, they believe going dark is their only hope of survival." The Earth, for the first time since humans had learned to harness electricity, fell completely silent. And in that silence, Amanda Hayes heard something she'd never expected. The sound of a species choosing to leap backward in order to survive what lay ahead. Captain Michael Reynolds guided his stealth vessel through Earth's upper atmosphere, the ship's adaptive camouflage rendering it invisible to any watching eyes below. The Galactic Council's most advanced reconnaissance craft hummed silently around him, its quantum sensors probing the darkness for answers to humanity's sudden silence. "Status report," he commanded, his eyes fixed on the sprawling cityscape of New York, emerging through the cloud cover below. "All systems nominal, Captain," his science officer, Dr. Sarah Wilson, responded. "But these readings, they don't make sense. The city's power grid is active, but it's not generating any electromagnetic signatures. It's as if they found a way to conduct electricity without creating any detectable fields." Reynolds leaned forward, studying the holographic display. Times Square still blazed with light, but something was fundamentally wrong with the image. The massive billboards weren't electronic. They were mechanical, vast arrays of rotating prisms and reflective surfaces creating dynamic displays through purely physical means. "Take us lower," he ordered. "Passive scans only." The ship descended to 5,000 feet, offering a clearer view of the transformed city. Traffic flowed smoothly through the streets, but the vehicles moved with an odd, rhythmic precision. No traffic lights controlled their movement. Instead, a complex system of mechanical signals, like railway switches, coordinated the flow. "Captain," Dr. Wilson called out, her voice tight with excitement. "I'm detecting a network of vibrations through the city's infrastructure. They're using the buildings themselves as resonance chambers, transmitting data through mechanical oscillations." Reynolds watched a train arrive at Grand Central Station, its arrival coordinated not by computers, but by an intricate ballet of mechanical calculators. The entire city had been transformed into a massive analog machine, processing information through gears, levers, and precisely calibrated vibrations. "Look there," his navigation officer, Lieutenant James Cooper, pointed to a strange pattern of movement in the streets. Pedestrians were walking in specific formations, their movements creating subtle changes in air pressure that rippled through the city's wind tunnels. "They're using atmospheric pressure differentials as a communication network." A flash of reflected sunlight caught Reynolds' attention. On the roof of the skyscraper, a massive array of mirrors shifted in precise patterns, sending coded messages to similar arrays across the city. The humans had replaced their internet with a web of light and shadow. "Central Command wasn't wrong," Reynolds muttered. "They haven't regressed. They've evolved sideways. Every electronic system has been replaced with a mechanical counterpart." The ship's sensors detected a vast network of pneumatic tubes running beneath the city streets, carrying physical messages at near light speed through vacuum-powered delivery systems. In place of cell phones, people carried small mechanical devices that could transmit messages through modulated sound waves, bounced precisely off buildings in patterns that only their intended recipients could decode. "Captain," Dr. Wilson interrupted his observations, "I'm picking up something in the vibration patterns. It's faint, but there's a word being repeated through the mechanical network, over and over, like a warning." "What's the word?" She adjusted her instruments, fine-tuning them to the subtle frequencies. "Watchers. They keep saying watchers." Reynolds felt a chill run down his spine. They know something's out there. Something that hunts by following electromagnetic signatures. That's why they've gone dark. They're hiding. The sun began to set, and the city's nighttime systems engage. Bioluminescent panels, powered by engineered bacteria, provided street lighting without any electrical components. The entire metropolis continued to function, but in a way that left no technological footprint for anyone watching from above. "Take us back to orbit," Reynolds ordered. "I've seen enough." As the stealth vessel climbed through the atmosphere, he drafted his report to the Galactic Council. How could he explain what they'd witnessed? Humanity hadn't fallen silent. They'd invented an entirely new language, one spoken through light and shadow, pressure and vibration, gear and lever. "Sir," Lieutenant Cooper spoke up, "shouldn't we be asking ourselves the obvious question? If humanity went to all this trouble to hide their technological signature, what are they hiding from?" Reynolds finished the thought. He stared down at the darkening planet below, where nearly 9 billion humans had chosen to step backward in time to ensure their future. And more importantly, how long do we have before it finds us too? In the gathering darkness, New York's mechanical heartbeat pulsed on, each tick and turn carrying encrypted warnings about the shapes that lurked between the stars. Lieutenant Jessica Thompson hadn't slept in 36 hours. The patterns in the cosmic background radiation demanded her complete attention, their subtle variations telling a story she wished she could unread. In the deep space listening post-Helios, positioned at the edge of charted space, she discovered something that made Earth's silence suddenly, terrifyingly logical. "Run it again," she ordered her analysis system, her voice hoarse from too much coffee and too little rest. The holographic display sparkled to life, showing the intricate dance of radiation waves between the stars. At first glance, they looked natural, random quantum fluctuations in the fabric of spacetime. But Jessica knew better. She'd spent 8 years studying the background noise of the universe, learning to distinguish the random from the deliberate. And these patterns were anything but random. "Computer, overlay the theoretical emergence patterns for Class X predator civilizations," she commanded. The display shifted, adding a ghostly red template over the radiation data. The match was perfect. Her hands trembled as she opened a priority channel to the Galactic Council. "This is Lieutenant Thompson at Helios Station. Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha 9. I'm confirming theoretical model Lambda. We have positive identification of cosmic apex signatures in the void between sectors 12 and 13. The response was immediate. "Lieutenant Thompson, this is Council Executive Director Marcus Blake. Are you absolutely certain of your findings?" Jessica pulled up the historical data she'd spent the last day and a half analyzing. The pattern matches all theoretical models for highly advanced predator species that hunt developing civilizations. But there's more. She transmitted a secondary analysis. These signatures, they're not random appearances. They're systematic, moving in a clear search pattern across the galaxy. There was a long pause before Blake responded. "How long have these patterns been present?" "That's the thing, sir. When I discovered the current signatures, I went back through our archive data. They've been there for at least 50 Earth years, growing stronger. At first, they were so faint our systems classified them as background noise. But humanity," she swallowed hard, "humanity must have detected them, must have realized what they meant." "Explain," Blake demanded. Jessica pulled up Captain Reynolds' report from Earth. "Look at the timing. Humanity began developing their mechanical alternatives exactly when these signatures became strong enough to detect with their level of technology. They didn't just stumble onto this threat. They've been preparing for it." The display showed a new alert. More signatures, stronger now, appearing at the edges of the solar system. The hunters had arrived, drawn by decades of Earth's electromagnetic broadcasts, but their prey had already gone to ground, leaving no technological trail to follow. "Director Blake," Jessica said, her voice steadying as the pieces fell into place. "Humanity's silence wasn't an act of fear. It was a strategic withdrawal. They knew they couldn't match the hunters' level of technology, so they created something the hunters wouldn't recognize as technology at all." "How many?" Blake asked. "How many civilizations have these entities found before?" Jessica's analysis painted a grim picture based on the radiation patterns. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. The signatures show up near developing worlds, then those worlds go dark. But not like Earth. Those other worlds show signs of orbital bombardment, planetary devastation. Earth is the first to go dark while maintaining its civilization. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just spotted the threat. They'd found a way to face it that no other species had considered. In an age of quantum computers and fusion drives, they'd chosen to step backward into the age of steam and springs, transforming their entire civilization into something the hunters' advanced sensors would see as primitive and harmless. "Sir," Jessica added, studying a new set of readings, "the signatures are accelerating toward the solar system. Whatever humanity is planning, they're about to be tested. And if they fail, then we all learn whether their strategy of silence was wisdom or futility." Blake finished. "Continue monitoring, Lieutenant. Document everything. If humanity has found a way to survive these hunters, the galaxy needs to know. And if they haven't." The sentence hung unfinished as Jessica watched the cosmic dance of predator signals growing stronger. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, ancient engines were powering up, ready to harvest another world. But for the first time in their long history of hunting, they were approaching a prey that saw them coming, and chose to whisper rather than scream. Colonel James Walker stood in the heart of the Rocky Mountain Command Center, watching as mechanical displays clicked and whirred with incoming data. The vast underground facility, powered by geothermal energy and running entirely on analog systems, tracked the approaching threat through a network of gravity wave detectors. "Multiple contacts," reported Major Lisa Bennett, her hands moving across a brass control panel studded with precision gauges. 7 vessels, each roughly the size of Manhattan. They're decelerating at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Walker studied the mechanical star chart, where brass planetary orbits turned in perfect synchronization. Tiny markers representing the void stalkers appeared as weights suspended on nearly invisible threads, their positions updated by a complex system of counterbalances and pulleys. "Show me their approach vector," he ordered. The chart shifted, gears turning silently as it projected the hunters' likely course. Their formation was precise. Too precise for biological pilots. These were the machine intelligences that had haunted humanity's nightmares since the first anomalous signals were detected 50 years ago. "Sir," Bennett called out, "we're getting pressure differential readings from the Neptune outpost. The hunters are scanning the outer system with some form of quantum radar. They're looking for technological signatures." Walker allowed himself a grim smile. The Neptune outpost, like all of Earth's space installations, now operated on purely mechanical principles. Pressure changes in sealed tubes transmitted data, while gravity-powered clockwork computers processed navigational calculations. To the hunters' advanced sensors, it would appear as nothing more than an oddly shaped asteroid. "Status of the planetary defense grid?" he asked. "All systems nominal, Colonel." Bennett gestured to a wall of fluid-filled tubes where colored liquids rose and fell in complex patterns. "The hydraulic computers are tracking their movements. Mechanical targeting systems are aligned and ready. Surface-to-space batteries are primed, all using chemical propulsion and mechanical guidance." The hunters moved closer, their massive forms now passing Saturn's orbit. Walker thought about the centuries of technological progress humanity had seemingly abandoned. But that abandonment was an illusion. They hadn't regressed, they'd evolved. Every electronic system had been replaced by its mechanical counterpart, often more sophisticated than the original. "Message from Lunar Base," announced Lieutenant Robert Chen, reading from a paper tape being punched out by a mechanical decoder. "They've completed final calibration of the solar mirror array. All stations report ready for coordinated reflection tactics." The Void Stalkers had devoured thousands of civilizations by following their electronic emissions, their quantum sensors designed to detect and target any form of advanced technology. But they'd never encountered a species that chose to embrace the mechanical age, that built computers from flowing water and transmitted data through pulses of reflected sunlight. "They're scanning Mars now," Bennett reported. "Still no sign they've detected our presence. The masking strategy is working." Walker watched as the mechanical displays tracked the hunters' methodical advance through the solar system. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, ever since their deep space telescopes first detected the patterns of destruction these entities left in their wake. "Sir," Chen's voice carried a note of tension, "primary contact is altering course. They're moving into high orbit around Earth." The command center fell silent except for the steady ticking of mechanical chronometers. Through the gallery of brass periscopes, Walker could see the first of the massive vessels appearing as a dark spot against the stars. "Let them come closer," he ordered, his voice steady. "Let them think we're nothing but primitives who lost control of our technology. Let them think we're easy prey." The hunters hung in orbit like abstract sculptures of darkness, their quantum sensors probing a world that appeared to have regressed centuries in development. They found cities lit by bioluminescence instead of electricity, vehicles powered by refined steam engines, and communications transmitted through light and sound rather than radio waves. To their sensors, Earth appeared as a civilization that had failed to advance, that had somehow lost its grasp on higher technology. They didn't understand that every mechanical device, every water computer, every spring-driven calculator was part of an interlocking defensive grid more sophisticated than any electronic system. "All stations, maintain silence," Walker commanded as the hunters began their final approach. "Let them come to us. Let them learn why humanity chose to whisper." Above, the Void Stalkers prepared to harvest another primitive world. Unaware they were about to face the most advanced mechanical civilization in the galaxy's history. Professor Emily Wright stood before the massive waterfall computer complex beneath Niagara Falls, her hands steady on the brass control panel as she initiated the global defense sequence. Around her, thousands of precision-engineered water channels diverted the fall's power into the most sophisticated mechanical computer ever built by human hands. "All sectors reporting ready," announced her chief engineer, Dr. Kevin Martinez, reading from a series of crystalline tubes where rising and falling water levels displayed messages from around the world. "The London array has completed its mechanical alignment. Beijing's counterweight systems are primed. Rio's atmospheric processors are at full capacity." Emily watched as the waterfall computer processed targeting solutions through cascading flows, each carefully crafted channel and water gate performing millions of calculations per second without a single electronic component. Above them, the Void Stalkers hung in low orbit, their quantum sensors probing for signs of resistance. "They're moving into attack formation," reported Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, watching the mechanical stellar display where precision weights and pulleys tracked the hunters' positions. 3 vessels over the Pacific, 2 across Europe, 2 holding position above the poles. Emily allowed herself a small smile. "They still think we're defenseless." Status of the Global Reflection Network. The answer came through a series of hydraulic pulses, translated by brass sensors into mechanical readouts. Across Earth, thousands of solar mirrors had completed their alignment, ready to redirect focused sunlight in precisely calculated patterns. The entire planet had become a weapon, powered by nothing more complex than light and gravity. "Professor Wright," Martinez called out, his voice tight with anticipation, "we're receiving the final confirmation signals. Every major city has completed their transformation sequence. General Martinez requests execution authority." Emily took a deep breath, watching the waterfalls flow through transparent calculation chambers. 50 years of preparation had led to this moment. When humanity first detected the hunters' approach, they'd faced a choice: try to advance their technology fast enough to fight back, or take a different path entirely. "Send the activation signal," she ordered. Full global response. The command traveled through the Earth's crust as seismic waves, triggering mechanisms in cities worldwide. Skyscrapers that appeared to be simple steel and glass transformed, outer panels rotating to reveal vast arrays of precision ground mirrors. Streets split open as steam-powered lifting mechanisms raised batteries of mechanically guided rockets into position. "Multiple energy spikes from the hunter vessels," Rodriguez reported. "They're powering up their main weapons." "Let them fire first," Emily commanded. "Let them see their energy weapons pass through our cities without effect." The waterfall computer had calculated this strategy years ago. The hunters' weapons were designed to target electronic infrastructure. Against a purely mechanical civilization, they would prove largely ineffective. The first hunter vessel launched its attack, a beam of coherent energy that should have devastated Chicago. Instead, the beam passed through a city that had already replaced its electronic systems with mechanical alternatives. The only effect was to heat the solar collection mirrors, adding power to Earth's defense grid. "Now," Emily ordered, "show them what primitive really means." Across the planet, humanity's response began. In New York, the Empire State Building's entire structure became a massive Tesla coil, powered by steam turbines and directing artificial lightning through mechanically calculated vectors. The pyramids of Giza revealed themselves as geometric focusing arrays, concentrating reflected sunlight into searing beams. The waterfall computer processed battlefield data through liquid flows, adjusting humanity's coordinated defense faster than any electronic system could have managed. Each city moved in concert, their mechanical systems immune to the hunters' sophisticated electronic warfare. Direct hit on the polar vessel, Martinez announced as the first counterattack struck home. Their shields weren't configured for purely kinetic weapons. They never expected physical projectiles guided by water computers and launched by steam. Emily watched through crystalline observation panels as humanity's true technological achievement was revealed. They hadn't regressed. They had reinvented their entire civilization, creating a mechanical complexity that the hunters' quantum sensors registered as primitive technology. "Send word to all sectors," she ordered, her voice carrying over the roar of the falls. "Full deployment of all defensive systems. Show them that humanity's silence wasn't surrender. It was preparation for war." Above, the hunters faced something they had never encountered in a million years of harvesting civilizations. Prey that had chosen to evolve sideways rather than forward, creating a form of advancement they couldn't recognize until it was too late. Major Rachel Foster crouched in the control chamber of the Grand Canyon Array, where a vast network of acoustic horns carved into the rock face transmitted battlefield data through carefully modulated sound waves. The canyon itself had been transformed into the world's largest acoustic computer, processing combat calculations through precisely engineered echoes. "Multiple hits confirmed on Target Alpha," reported Sergeant Michael Brooks, reading from a series of mechanical tickers that recorded impacts through seismic sensors. "Their shields are failing against the kinetic bombardment. They have no defense against physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds." Rachel watched through brass telescopes as another salvo of mechanically guided rockets streaked upward, their trajectories calculated by the canyon's acoustic processors. The rockets carried no electronics, no guidance computers, just intricate clockwork mechanisms that adjusted their course through atmospheric pressure differentials. "Status of the atmospheric defense network," she demanded, eyes fixed on the mechanical battle map where brass markers tracked the positions of friend and foe. Private Tommy Chen manipulated the controls of his station, where flowing sand through precisely calibrated hourglasses measured timing sequences for the global defense grid. "Atmospheric processors are maintaining the shield frequency. Their energy weapons can't penetrate the standing wave patterns we've established in the upper atmosphere." The hunters had expected to find a primitive world when Earth's electronics went dark. Instead, they found themselves facing weapons they couldn't detect or counter, mechanical computers that processed data through sound waves, communications networks that used modulated gravity waves, and defensive systems powered by nothing more complex than precisely engineered springs and gears. "Launch the mirror array response," Rachel ordered. Across the American Southwest, vast fields of solar mirrors rotated in perfect synchronization, their movements controlled by mechanical computers that used flowing water and gravity to calculate targeting solutions. Concentrated beams of reflected sunlight struck the hunters' vessels, overwhelming shields designed to stop energy weapons, but helpless against focused natural light. "They're adapting," Brooks warned as the mechanical tickers recorded new movement patterns. 2 vessels attempting to enter the atmosphere. They're trying to get under our mirror coverage. Rachel smiled grimly. Just as the water computers predicted. Signal the underground response teams. Show them what we buried beneath our cities. Across the globe, the streets of major cities split open as steam-powered lifting mechanisms raised batteries of mechanical launchers into position. These weapons were Earth's masterpiece of regression. Railguns powered by steam pressure, firing projectiles guided by atmospheric currents and gravity instead of electronics. Multiple launches detected from Shanghai, London, and Cairo. Chen reported, watching as colored sand flows in his timing devices tracked the coordinated attack. Impact in 3, 2, 1. The hunter vessels attempting atmospheric entry shuddered as thousands of projectiles struck their hulls simultaneously. Their quantum shields, designed to stop energy weapons and electronic attacks, proved useless against simple kinetic impacts delivered with mechanical precision. Direct hits confirmed, Brooks announced. 1 vessel breaking up over the Pacific. The other is retreating to higher orbit. The canyon's acoustic sensors are picking up some kind of signal from their fleet. It's not like anything in our records. Rachel leaned forward, studying the mechanical spectrograph that analyzed the hunters' communications through patterns of weighted pendulums. They're not just transmitting data, she realized. That's a distress signal. For the first time in their history of hunting, they're calling for help. The Grand Canyon's acoustic computer processed this new information, its sound-based calculations echoing through carefully shaped chambers. The resulting analysis emerged as a series of punched cards, revealing a startling conclusion. They're scared, Rachel breathed, reading the output. They don't understand how we're fighting them. Every technology they encounter is supposed to be based on electronics, quantum systems, or exotic energy. But we're using the fundamental forces of nature itself: gravity, light, sound, and mechanical motion. We've created a form of advancement they can't recognize as technology. Private Chen's sand timers showed another attack formation developing. Major, they're regrouping for another assault. All 5 remaining vessels moving into attack position. Let them come, Rachel ordered, her voice carrying through the canyon's acoustic network. Humanity spent 50 years learning to whisper. Now we'll show them how loud silence can become. Above, the hunters faced a growing realization. They had spent millions of years evolving forward, only to be outmaneuvered by a species that chose to evolve backward, turning the very laws of physics into weapons that no amount of technological advancement could counter. Dr. William Harrison stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his mechanical translator converting his words into standardized light patterns. The vast chamber, filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds, sat in stunned silence as they watched footage of Earth's defense against the Void Stalkers. What you're witnessing isn't regression, Harrison explained, gesturing to the holographic display where mechanically guided projectiles tore through quantum shields. It's evolution along a different axis. When we detected the hunters 50 years ago, we realized we couldn't advance our technology fast enough to fight them directly. So we chose a different path. Council leader Marcus Blake leaned forward, his crystalline form catching the light. You abandoned your electronic civilization entirely. The risk must have been enormous. Harrison nodded, activating the small mechanical device that projected detailed schematics through precisely ground lenses. We didn't abandon technology. We reinvented it. Every electronic system was replaced by its mechanical counterpart. Where we once used quantum computers, we built machines that calculated through fluid dynamics and acoustic resonance. The display showed the Niagara Falls computer complex, where waterfalls processed data through intricate channel networks. Representatives gasped as they realized the sophistication hidden in what their sensors had dismissed as primitive waterworks. Impossible, declared the science minister of the Centauri Collective. You can't achieve computational speeds necessary for space combat through mechanical means. Harrison smiled, pulling out a small brass device from his pocket. This mechanical calculator, powered by nothing more than springs and gears, can process targeting solutions faster than your quantum computers. Not because it's more advanced, but because it operates on principles the hunters never evolved to counter. He placed the device on the council table, where it quickly solved a complex orbital mechanics problem through purely mechanical means. The chamber erupted in murmurs as representatives realized the implications. Your entire strategy, Blake mused, was based on the hunter's own evolutionary path. They advanced so far in one direction that they became blind to alternative forms of technology. Exactly, Harrison confirmed. They evolved to detect and counter electronic emissions, quantum signatures, and exotic energy patterns, but they never developed defenses against precisely calculated kinetic impacts or mechanically coordinated attacks. Why would they? No species they encountered had ever chosen to advance through mechanical means. The display showed Earth's transformed cities, where skyscrapers doubled as mechanical computers and street layouts formed vast calculation arrays. Every aspect of human civilization had been redesigned to process information and coordinate defense through natural principles: gravity, light, sound, and motion. The water computers, Harrison continued, weren't primitive alternatives to electronic systems. They were the next stage in our evolution. By understanding how to encode complex calculations in fluid dynamics, we created computers that operated on fundamentally different principles than anything in known space. A representative from the Pleiades Confederation rose. But the social cost, convincing your entire species to abandon electronic technology. We didn't abandon it, Harrison corrected. We transcended it. Every device you think of as electronic, we rebuilt using mechanical principles. Our global communication network runs on modulated gravity waves and atmospheric pressure differentials. Our defensive systems use focused sunlight and mechanically calculated trajectories. We turned our entire planet into a weapon that operates on the basic forces of nature. The council chamber's mechanical displays showed the final moments of the battle, where Earth's coordinated defense had forced the surviving hunters to flee. Their quantum sensors, designed to detect technological civilizations, had been blind to a world that hid its advancement in seemingly primitive mechanisms. What you're seeing isn't just a victory over the hunters, Harrison concluded. It's proof that advancement doesn't always mean moving forward in the expected direction. Sometimes, the most sophisticated solution is to step backward and find a different path entirely. Blake raised his crystalline form to its full height. Dr. Harrison, the Council has a proposal. We believe your species has discovered something more valuable than mere victory. You found a way to protect the galaxy from threats we never knew how to fight. Will humanity share its mechanical revolution? Harrison's mechanical translator clicked softly as he responded. That's why I'm here. Earth is ready to teach the galaxy how to whisper. Because sometimes, the quietest voice carries the most powerful message. Around the council chamber, representatives from 1,000 worlds realized they were witnessing the birth of a new era. The age of quantum technology would not end, but it would no longer stand alone. Humanity had proven that true advancement could mean choosing to evolve sideways, finding strength in what others saw as weakness. Ambassador Rebecca Morgan stood atop the newly constructed Galactic Exchange Center in Geneva, watching as representatives from hundreds of worlds studied Earth's mechanical marvels. 6 months after humanity's victory over the Void Stalkers, the planet had become the center of a technological revolution that no one had seen coming. The Andromeda delegation is particularly interested in your water computing principles, reported Dr. James Chen, leading Earth's technical exchange program. They've already begun converting some of their quantum processing centers into hydraulic calculation complexes. Rebecca nodded, watching through brass telescopes as a delegation of crystalline beings examined the city's mechanical transport system. The streets of Geneva, like all Earth cities now, operated without a single electronic signal. Traffic flowed smoothly, guided by an intricate network of pressure differentials and mechanical switches. How are they adapting to the concept of mechanical quantum entanglement? She asked, referring to humanity's breakthrough in achieving quantum-like effects through purely mechanical means. "Better than expected," James replied, consulting his mechanical datapad, where tiny gears and springs displayed information through carefully calibrated movements. "The Centauri Collective has already successfully replicated our mechanical quantum bridge. They're calling it the greatest advancement in communication technology since the discovery of faster-than-light travel." Below them, the exchange center hummed with activity. Alien engineers marveled at displays showing how Earth had transformed its cities into vast mechanical computers, processing data through the movement of air, water, and physical objects. Each demonstration proved that humanity's regression had actually been a leap forward into an entirely new branch of technological evolution. "Message from the Pleiadian Science Academy," announced Sarah Martinez, reading from a series of punched cards emerging from a brass decoder. "They've successfully implemented our atmospheric processing network. Their entire star system can now communicate through modulated gravity waves, completely undetectable to conventional sensors." Rebecca smiled, remembering how many had doubted Earth's choice to abandon electronic technology. Now those same skeptics were rushing to implement mechanical alternatives to their vulnerable electronic systems. The threat of the Void Stalkers had forced the galaxy to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their reliance on a single technological path had become their greatest weakness. "What's the status of the Galactic Defense Network?" she asked, turning to her military liaison, Colonel Michael Foster. Foster consulted a mechanical stellar display where precise clockwork mechanisms tracked the positions of newly constructed defense platforms. "The first phase is complete. 17 star systems have successfully converted their defensive grids to mechanical operation. The hunters won't find any easy prey in those sectors." The transformation of galactic civilization was happening faster than anyone had predicted. Species that had relied entirely on quantum computing and energy weapons were discovering the elegance of mechanical solutions. Earth's waterfalls computers were being replicated on thousands of worlds, their calculations carried out by the natural flow of fluids and the inexorable pull of gravity. The Council's archivists have formally classified this as the beginning of the mechanical age, James noted, showing her a mechanically printed document. "They're calling Earth's contribution the greatest paradigm shift in galactic history." Rebecca watched as a group of ethereal beings from the Carina Nebula cluster examined a demonstration of Earth's mechanical quantum entanglement system. Through precisely engineered mechanical linkages, humanity had achieved what was thought impossible: instantaneous communication without electronics or conventional quantum effects. "We've received the first long-range reports from the Hunter Tracking Network," Foster reported. "The Void Stalkers are avoiding all systems that have implemented mechanical technology. They can't process what they can't detect." The implications were clear. Humanity hadn't just found a way to defend itself. They'd discovered a fundamental blind spot in the Hunter's evolution. By choosing to step backward and find a different path forward, they had created a form of advancement that their ancient enemies couldn't comprehend. "Send word to all Earth embassies," Rebecca instructed, her voice carrying pride and purpose. "Phase 2 of the knowledge exchange begins tomorrow. It's time to teach the galaxy not just how to whisper, but how to sing without making a sound." As the sun set over Geneva, its light reflected off countless brass and crystal surfaces, each one part of the vast mechanical computer that the city had become. Humanity's choice to fall silent had led not to their extinction, but to their emergence as teachers of a whole new way to advance. In choosing to step backward, they had helped the galaxy leap forward into an age where technology could evolve in any direction imagination allowed. The Earth had fallen silent, but in that silence, they had taught the galaxy a new language, one spoken through light and shadow, through water and wind, through the very forces that bound the universe together.